Hello everyone and welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. I hope your year is starting with good energy, because today's story is the kind of revelation that flips the script on everything we thought we knew about one of Turkey's most adored pairs. We're talking about Gökberk Demirci and Özge Yagay, two names that have defined an era of romantic leads and off-screen intrigue. And on January 2nd, 2026, a date that will now be tied to them in a very special way, the news that dropped didn't just trend, it echoed. Take a breath, settle in, and if you haven't already joined the family here at Turkish Spotlight Secrets, hit subscribe and tap the bell, because this is exactly the kind of story we are here to follow, frame by frame, feeling by feeling. Let's set the stage. After the holiday rush, everyone expected soft headlines, project teasers, maybe a winter photo shoot or two. Instead, the Turkish entertainment world served a twist that came right from the heart. Multiple well-placed sources, the kind you can't dismiss with a shrug, have aligned on the same startling truth: Gökberk Demirci and Özge Yagay have decided to expand their world in a way few saw coming. Not with an engagement ring reveal or a quietly planned wedding. Not with a second-chance reconciliation statement after whispers of distance. No. The decision is bigger, braver, and infinitely more intimate. They have begun the adoption process. Yes, you heard that right. While so many fans spent months decoding glances in interviews and double-tapping every tender caption, this couple was taking the most thoughtful step behind closed doors. The talks, file work, screenings, and long, quiet nights of reflection weren't for show, they were real. And if anyone understands why this particular choice fits them, it's those who have watched their story unfold over the years, on screen, yes, but also in those candid, unguarded moments that told us who they truly are. Let's remember the backdrop. Their chemistry was never confined to a set. It lingered in the silence between takes and in the way they handled the public gaze, calmly, protectively, never turning their private moments into a spectacle. Even when rumor mills spun out narratives of a breakup, a reunion, a will-they-won't-they rhythm, there was always a thread of respect between them, a loyalty to what mattered more than headlines. And now, with this decision, they've taken that private, deeply rooted loyalty and placed it at the center of their lives. The first wave of reactions came fast and heartfelt. Supporters flooded social platforms with messages that felt less like fan commentary and more like cheers from a community that has grown with them. People called it a victory for love that doesn't need a ceremony to be seen. A choice that says family is built, not just announced. You could feel the pride. You could feel the gratitude, too, toward two people who chose a path many admire but few actually take. Messages praised the courage it takes to do something so profound without theatrics. They highlighted how fitting it is for two actors who long ago learned the power of protecting what is precious. Of course, the scrutiny showed up, as it always does. Why adoption? Why now? Why not biological children? Why not wait? You could hear the familiar chorus of questions that cling to public figures. But behind the static of speculation, there's a simple truth that anyone who has lived in the real world understands: every path to family is personal. Every timeline has its own heartbeat. And if there's one constant in the story of Gökberk and Özge, it's that they have always made decisions with care. When others rushed, they slowed down. When others shouted, they listened. This is no different. People close to them, choosing discretion over visibility, describe two souls brimming with excitement and humility. The word that keeps surfacing is ready. Ready for long nights and early mornings. Ready for a home that hums with new laughter. Ready for the surrender that comes with parenthood, the messy, miraculous, totally transforming kind. Their families, who have walked with them through career highs and quiet valleys, are reportedly overjoyed, already creating space not just in their houses but in their stories, eager to welcome the little life that will change everything. It's also important to see this news in the context of who they've shown themselves to be beyond the camera. Both have lent their hands and voices to causes that say, clearly, kindness is not a performance. Animal shelters, community initiatives, campaigns centered on education and opportunity, these aren't gimmicks for them. They reflect a worldview. And it's easy to imagine how that worldview leads here, to a door opening, to a child entering, to love redefined in the quiet corners of their day. There's curiosity now, naturally. Where is the child from? What age? What stage of the process are they in? How long before we see a small hand wrapped around theirs in a photo that breaks the internet for all the right reasons? But anyone who truly respects them won't push for those specifics. They have always treated their private life as sacred ground, and this step demands even more care. The adoption process, with all its checks and safeguards, is designed to center the child. If there is one thing we can be sure of, it's that Gökberk and Özge will align with that purpose and protect it fiercely. Professionally, the timing adds another layer of intrigue. Both have enjoyed projects that kept their calendars full and their faces familiar. They know what it means to juggle scripts, sets, schedules, flights, rehearsals, red carpets, press. But parenthood ushers in a new scale of priorities. Will they space out shoots? Will they favor roles that keep them closer to home? Will we see them explore characters who are parents, drawing from a lived tenderness? We can guess, but only time will weave the answers. What feels certain is that they will navigate this just as they have navigated everything, a step at a time, side by side, with a quiet devotion that doesn't need to be announced to be real. Make no mistake, the impact of this news reaches beyond entertainment. Adoption reshapes lives in two directions. A child finds a place to belong, and adults discover parts of themselves only a child can reveal. It's not cinematic perfection, it's deeper than that. It's patience and paperwork and hope she barely dare voice out loud. It's learning to speak a new language of trust. And seeing a beloved couple embrace that, not to perform virtue but to live it, is something that resonates far outside the bubble of fandom. Think back to their past interviews, the way they would deflect the overly personal with dignity, how they mastered the art of saying just enough without turning their hearts into content. That same wisdom is written all over this moment. By choosing to share the adoption news now, and not earlier, they reclaimed the narrative. They didn't wait for a leak. They didn't give oxygen to rumor. They simply said, "This is what we're doing, this is what matters, and we are ready to walk into it together." Picture the home they're preparing. Not polished minimalism for a magazine spread, but warmth. Baby books next to scripts. A monitor glowing softly while lines are memorized under a nightlight. A kettle humming while one of them paces, rocking, humming back. A hallway softly lit with framed memories. Set photos, family snapshots, the first painting made with too much color and total abandon. You can almost hear it, the quiet that becomes music when a child enters it. As always, conversation online splits into threads. Some fans trade old clips where a knowing smile or a tender glance seems, in hindsight, like a secret preview of the love they were saving for a child. Others advocate for empathy, reminding everyone that adoption journeys can be long, and that patience is part of the vow. There are practical questions too, about logistics, legalities, timing. And then there are the messages that cut through everything. Thank you for showing that family is a choice you renew every day. There's also the question of visibility. Will they share a first photo? Will there be a delicate, hand-over-heart caption about gratitude and new beginnings? Or will they choose absolute privacy, appearing months from now with stories that live between them and the little one alone? Either way, the real story is happening in the hours that will never be televised. In lullabies sung off-key. In the relief that floods a room when the baby finally sleeps. In the comedy of first-time parent mistakes and the triumphs that feel small but are mountains. That is where their love will speak loudest. We should also acknowledge how brave it is to do something this profound in the open. Not because they owe visibility to anyone, but because the choice to share will inevitably inspire. Someone watching tonight may feel less alone. Someone may reconsider what family could mean for them. Someone may decide to begin a process they were too afraid to attempt. This is influence at its most meaningful, the kind that doesn't trend for shock's sake, but lingers because it opens a door. So what happens next? Realistically, we'll see a respectful quiet settle around them. They'll show up to work when it makes sense. They'll disappear when it matters. They'll keep the child at the center, as they should. There may come a day when they let us peek in, perhaps with a soft, carefully framed photo that says more than 1,000 interviews could. Or they may keep that window closed indefinitely. Either path is worthy. Either path guards what they clearly consider the heart of their life. January 2nd, 2026 will be remembered not as a scandalous reveal or a PR stunt, but as the day a beloved couple chose the most loving way forward. It's a reminder that the stories that endure are sometimes the ones that whisper rather than shout. In a culture that often asks for proof, they've offered something better: intention. A promise to love a child not because the world is watching, but because it's the truest thing they can do. To bring it all together, today we've walked through the moment that turned speculation into certainty. The news that Gökberk Demirci and Özge Yagais are in the adoption process is not just a headline. It's a turning point. It has sparked celebration, called for empathy, and reframed what next-level commitment can look like for two people who have always seemed to find their way back to each other. Their choice shines with courage, with tenderness, and with a maturity that feels earned. And as their supporters, we get to do the simplest, kindest thing: wish them well, and let them live the story they're writing in real time. We'll be watching, respectfully, for the steps ahead. Maybe a subtle update. Maybe nothing at all for a while. Either way, we'll be here to honor the reality, not the rumor. Because this isn't about satisfying curiosity, it's about witnessing love evolve. Thank you for spending this time with us on Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Tell us what moved you most about this news. How do you feel about their decision, about adoption, about the way celebrities can reset the conversation around family? And what would you like to say directly to Gökberk and Özge if they read the comments? Drop your thoughts below. We read them, we reflect on them, and we value them. If this story resonated with you, tap like, share it with someone who needs a hopeful headline, and make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss the next chapter. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you soon with more stories that matter, right here on Turkish Spotlight Secrets.